Municipality of Anchorage Platting Board will now come to order, 6:30, March 2nd, 2016. May we have roll call?
Daniel Young.
Present.
Trevor Edmondson is excused. Clayton Walker.
Here.
Christina Enix.
Here.
Don Porter.
Here.
Kevin Cross.
Here.
Mark Seward.
Here.
And Valerie Ritz.
Here.
And we have a quorum. And no short board. We have action summaries. May we have a motion to approve the action summaries? It's not showing up on the screen.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please be patient. No, I don't see any spots for somebody to. Okay. Thank you. We have a motion from Dan Young. Any second? There we go.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just for everybody on the board, Grannis isn't responding, so we're going to do this verbally. So even though you can't hit the button, you can verbally do it. Second.
Thank you, Don Porter. Seconds the motion. Any opposition to approving the summary action? Seeing none, the motion passes. Next, we have minutes from February 8th, 2016. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Don Porter moves and Kevin Cross seconds. Any opposition to approving the minutes as written? Seeing none, the motion passes. We have two informational items on the table, one from February 8th and one from February 16th. I believe these are informational items only and are not, no action is required from us. And that brings us to annual election of officers. I believe we have 2 officer positions, the chair and vice chair. Dan Young.
I make a motion that we leave the officers the same as before.
That motion has been seconded by Don Porter. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, is there any opposition to approving the motion on the floor? The motion is approved. We don't have a consent agenda today and no old business. Are there any disclosures that any of the members need to make? Then with that, we will begin the public hearing process. The process by which the public may speak to the Platting Board at this meeting is after the staff presentation is complete, we will invite the petitioner to speak first, and then we will invite members of the public to speak. People who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Commission Rules of Procedure. Petitioners and their representatives will have 10 minutes. They may reserve part of their time for rebuttal. Representatives of groups, community councils, and PTAs have 5 minutes. Individuals have 3 minutes. When you come up, I will ask you to state your name and spell your last name for the record, and then we'll start your time after we've taken care of the formalities. When your testimony is complete, the board may ask you questions. You can only testify once on an issue unless you are questioned by the board. Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Platting Board takes. Appeal of this decision or any of the conditions is governed by AMC 2111-304. The decision of the board at the scheduled public hearing shall become final 7 calendar days after the date the decision is made on the record, unless a written request is submitted to the Planning Division prior to the expiration of the 7th day to prepare a written decision based upon the record made at the hearing, and the request is accompanied by a written notice of intent to appeal. And with that, we will now call case S12217, West Fork Subdivision. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for subdivision of 2 tracts into 1 tract of land with variances from AMC 2180-10 dedication of streets and vacation of a 25-foot access easement, a 20 by 155 portion of an electric and telephone easement, a 95 by 20 portion of an electric telephone easement, and a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement. The property will be developed as a car dealership following this platting action. The petition site is located south of Dowling and east of Old Seward Highway. The property is zoned I-1. The proposed tract meets the minimum lot size, width, and depth required by the I-1 zoning district. Variance is requested from AMC 2180-10 dedication of streets to allow the petitioner to not dedicate the right-of-way for Juneau Street. The department has found standards 1 does not appear to be met. The east half of Juneau Street was dedicated by plats 8372 and 69179. There does exist a 30-foot section lane easement along the west half of Juneau Street. The municipality could use this easement, but it would require a notice of utilization. Furthermore, considering the development potential of the surrounding area, the variance appears premature. The petitioner has not demonstrated there are special circumstances affecting this property that would make dedication of right-of-way unreasonable or impractical. Standard number 2 does not appear to be met. The development potential of the surrounding area, this variance appears premature. Many lots in the area could be subdivided with their principal access being Juneau Street. If the variance was granted, the potential would be detrimental to the public or other property. Standard number 3 does not appear to be met. The variance will have the effect of nullifying the intent and purposes of the subdivision regulations. The regulations state, when a subdivision borders a dedicated half street, the platting authority shall require dedication of the other half street unless it determines that the street will be unnecessary or undesirable. Standard 4 does not appear to be met. There's currently a 33-foot section line easement on the west side of Juneau Street. The petitioner stated this area could be used for snow storage or parking if no dedication was required. Staff does not believe that this is an undue hardship for the petitioner, as this argument could be made for every case where dedication is required. So in summation, the Municipal Traffic Division has stated in their comments that they do not support any variance from dedication of the right-of-way for Juneau Street and requires the dedication of the 30-foot right-of-way. The Alaska Department of Transportation has also requested 30 feet of right-of-way be dedicated for Juneau Street. In regard to the vacation request, the petitioner is proposing to vacate a 25-foot access easement, a portion of a telephone and electrical easement, and another portion of an electric and telephone easement, along with a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement. The vacation requests for those have been found to conform to the municipal vacation policy. With the exception of the 25-foot access easement, they appear to only benefit the 2 tracts involved within this platting action. Generally, reviewing agencies had either had no comment or no objection to these vacation requests, and as new easements will be dedicated to serve the development, staff believes that the electric, telephone, sewer, and access easement are access to municipal needs. With the petitioner obtaining a letter of non-objection for vacation of the 25-foot access easement, that has been determined excess need if that's met. The reason the department is requiring a letter of non-objection for the access easement is because if you turn to supplementary packet number 2, this is the summary of action for the original West Fork subdivision dated September 16th, 1985. And if we look at the plat conditions number 2, it states dedicating the 30 feet right-of-way for Juneau Street, enter into a subdivision agreement to construct the street to urban half-street commercial standards. However, the platting officer at that time waived that and said not required with the 24-foot access to lot 28A. So this access easement serves as lot 28A, and that's why the department is only allowing a vacation if the letter of non-objection is obtained from the property of lot 28A. So with that being said, the department recommends denial of the request for the variance from AMC 2080-10 to not dedicate right-of-way for Juneau Street. The department recommends approval of the request for vacation of a 25-foot access easement, the 20 by 155 portion of electric telephone easement, the 95 by 20 portion of another electric and telephone easement, as well as a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement, subject to recording a plat within 18 months of approval and obtaining that letter of non-objection from the owners of lot 28A for the vacation of the 25-foot access easement. The department does recommend approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to conditions 1 through 6 found on page 9 of the staff packet. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff? Kevin Cross.
I appreciate that. Actually, I just want to remind to speak directly into your microphones. The first half was a little difficult to hear. May have been too many loud noises while I was younger, but make sure we speak directly into our microphone. I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Don Porter.
Yes, through the chair. I'm seeing this full-size scale, and I want to clarify that what are they doing with the 33-foot section line easements underlying all of this?
Through the chair, Mr. Porter, that is not being vacated. That's going to stay there.
And so then, so we're recommending 30 feet of right-of-way, which I see here on Juneau Street, which would be the east side. So are we recommending that there will be a total of only 30 feet of right-of-way?
No, it's 30 feet of the west. There's existing 30 feet of undeveloped right-of-way, and this would be the 30 feet of the west side of Juneau Street, which is the eastern portion of the property.
So then there would be a total of 60
60
feet of
feet.
right-of-way per your recommendation.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And we have a petitioner's representative.
Good evening. My name is Ken Ayers. That's A-Y-E-R-S. I'm with Lounsbury & Associates representing the petitioner tonight. Petitioner's representative, also President Dean Pape and Wendy Wilbur, has been working on the planning and attending many of the meetings that preceded this. So I would like to start by just covering a little bit of that case history. We started this 7 months ago in July 2015. We had a pre-application meeting. At that time, we were encouraged that dedication for Juneau Street would not be required. No improvements for that would be required. We were also encouraged that they would potentially support vacating the rest of the section line easement and the other Juneau Street right-of-way. And there was no discussion about that access easement to Lot 28A, that 25-foot access easement that exists on the current plat. So that was July of 2015. We did not have a representative from DOT at that pre-app meeting. So we submitted our plat with the applications based upon the information that we had from that pre-app, and then DOT decided that they were going to make a bunch of comments regarding driveway access that started to become very problematic. They were removing all the existing accesses and saying, no, you have to build Juneau Street and come in through Juneau Street. So it took from sometime in October all the way through the end of the year to resolve DOT's comments. So we were limited to one driveway on Dowling. The driveways on Old Seward would remain basically as they are, I believe. And during that time, we had postponed the public hearing for this plat. Then we come back to the application, have a new hearing date set, and then everything changed again. And everything changed regarding the dedication of Juneau, and no support for the variance. So the city was now saying, no, you have to dedicate Juneau. You don't have to build any improvements. And there was no discussion of that 25-foot access easement. So that's where we were. We come back in, we get our hearing date scheduled, and then on February 23rd, we're informed that this access easement that was never been an issue for 5 months is now an issue. So we didn't have very much time to address that. And I will get into that a little bit later. The bottom line here is that the petitioner doesn't really understand why there's a need to dedicate for Juneau Street. And I completely agree with them. That half right-of-way has been there from Dowling subdivision for over 50 years. The current section line easement's been there since the 1910s. There's no Juneau Street connection to the north. There's no part of it constructed. There's no connection for it to the south. We did a cost estimate as part of our process to deal with DOT on building that Juneau Street right-of-way, and just the frontage on the petitioner's property is over $4 million. There's terrible soils. There's huge utilities in there, including massive overhead power lines, sanitary sewer. DOT, as part of the Dowling Road project, came in and put big berms of waste soil on top of the right-of-way because they knew it was never going to be built. And so here we have this road right-of-way. Half dedication, we have a section line easement. The reality is, folks, I've done a lot of land development in this town in the last 50 years. this road is never going to be built. It's way too expensive for anybody to build it. There's no need for it. There's no purpose for it. It's beyond my imagining why the city is actually making this an issue. Having said that, the petitioner is willing to withdraw their variance request to dedicate that right-of-way. They'll dedicate the right-of-way. They think it's better off being on the tax rolls and maybe serving some purpose, but they can dedicate it and it can sit there for the next 100 years and never be used other than for the utilities that already exist. There's a caveat to that, and this is a caveat that I spoke with Dave Whitfield at the Muni about beforehand. He's not here tonight, but I have talked to staff about it, and that's condition number B2. And this has to do with obtaining a non-objection letter from a property owner for the vacation of that easement. We absolutely, positively object to having to do that. If we're going to withdraw that variance request and dedicate the right-of-way, they have full legal access. That lot 28A is part of the Alaska Waste Development. They own everything fronting on Rosewood except for the Napa store and the mini storage. Many acres over there. They have frontage off Rosewood. They have physical access. It's used in tandem with the lot that's next door to that. They do not need this easement. I don't believe that they have a representative here that's going to testify that they need that easement. They have not submitted anything in writing that says they need that easement, and we've followed the process. We submitted the applications. We requested the vacations. We're here tonight, and we want you to eliminate condition number B2. And as I said, I believe staff will back that up if we withdraw our request for the variance for dedicating right-of-way. But the petitioner's representative, they wanted this on the record. They wanted you to understand we're going to basically put this land off the tax rolls. It's never going to be used for anything, and it doesn't make sense to them. He'd rather actually pay taxes on it than see it go to waste. So the city's argument that this land will be used for redevelopment or could be holds no water. Again, that road right away to construct that road is so expensive, it's unreal. It also serves no purpose. All the land has legal and physical access from other locations, and they're just not going to use this. So, having said that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Don Porter.
So, I guess my question to you is, have you asked the owners of Lot 28A about writing this letter of objection, non-objection? And if you have asked them, have they said no? I mean, have you had any contact with them in whatsoever?
Through the chair, Mr. Porter, no. I personally have not contacted them. Again, this issue just came up last Wednesday. We haven't had a lot of time to deal with that issue. My understanding is the property jointly owned by Alaska Waste and JL Properties. So I don't know if Wendy has any more to add.
Wendy Wilbur with ECI Architects, WILBER. I would just like to make a note on this 25-foot easement. We went carefully through all of the title documents. We went through the recorded plat, and nowhere in the title documents or recorded plat is there any link that says this easement does provide access to Lot 28A. What they are going on is a note that they found in an old case file, and I don't believe that that is a legal nexus saying that this serves 28A, and that lot does have legal and physical access on a municipal right-of-way. Getting a letter of non-objection from adjacent property owner can certainly be problematic, and Kendall Auto Group is ready to start construction on this project this summer. So any additional delays on the plat, especially as we start entering an economic recession, could delay a very a great project that's going to invest in an area that's underdeveloped and is going to increase our tax rolls and our employment in this community. Getting a letter of non-objections from J&L Properties will not be an easy feat.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? So you've got 2 minutes, 35 seconds for rebuttal.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would like,
No, not now. We're going to open it up to the public. I'm letting you know as you go back and share how much rebuttal time you've reserved. We'll now take.
Before we move on to taking public testimony, I'd like to ask the staff about this item B2 before we get too far into it. And
Okay.
so, staff, what is your take on B2? Is it required now that they're...
Through the chair, Mr. Porter. Yes, so in essence here, if they dedicate the 30 feet of right-of-way, then it essentially gives access to that lot 28A in Dalian subdivision. So removing the 25-foot access easement is, staff would, as Mr. Ayers said, would agree to that. Allowing the removal of the 25-foot access easement and then dedicate the 30-foot of right-of-way gives legal access to lot 28A. So staff supports what Mr. Ayers said for B2, striking it, removing it.
Thank you.
Mr. Cross, did you have something I saw?
No, they were in lines with the same questioning, and then additionally, according to the records, looks like the lot in question is owned by JL Properties, CFI Management, Alaska Waste. And so is it my understanding, JL Properties, that it is basically a dump yard for connexes? Just curious on what the property that we're that, you know, and how difficult it would be to obtain that letter. Who the owner is. I definitely don't want to encroach upon anybody's rights or defer their rights without due process. But Mr. Porter's question answered where I was going. Thank you.
Just to clarify, JL Properties is right here on the map. This part is already municipal right-of-way and dedicated. They do not need this easement now. They can fully use the municipal right-of-way to access this property should they choose. This old access agreement that we're talking about literally comes across here and ends right here. And you have to cross the municipal right-of-way to actually get to this one property in question. So they have full legal access now should they choose to develop that right-of-way. This is an old access agreement that actually crosses the municipal right-of-way. So whether we dedicate or not dedicate, or have this easement or not have this easement, they have full physical and legal access to their property now, 30 feet already dedicated.
Are there any members of the public that wish to speak tonight? Anyone at all? Well, you have 2 minutes and 35 seconds for rebuttal. Would you like to use it now?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, again, I'd just like to reiterate, we'll withdraw our request for the variance for dedicating Juneau Street, but we require that condition B2 be eliminated. And with that condition, we'd accept the other conditions and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Any questions from the board? None. Well,
Sorry, so Dean Pape, his last name's spelled P-A-P-E. Thank you for your time and considering what we're discussing this evening. I think the point that we're trying to make is, as we've done on other properties in Anchorage, we took a very blight property and turned it into a very positive area in the surrounding community next to this property. We'd like to do the same here, and we're concerned that we have a back part of this property that, to us, will never be developed. And we'd like to take it a part of this development to improve it and keep it on the city's tax roll. Thank you.
Thank you. The matter now rests with the board. May I have a motion to address the first issue? Don Porter, will you please state your motion?
In the matter of case number S12217, I move that we accept the, we deny the, well, I guess that doesn't work.
No, you need to state it in a positive motion.
Yeah.
So stated is that we're going to approve it.
So I move that we approve the department recommendations for item A, in approval of request for the variance of AMC 2180, dedications to not dedicate right-of-way of Juneau Street.
Well, maybe I can clarify it. I think the motion you wanted to state is that you move to approve the variance from AMC 218010, the dedication of the street right-of-way, Juneau. Or yeah. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Good. And Dan Young seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I do not intend to support this motion, and because I believe that the city has made it very clear that they believe that the 30 feet is needed at possibly some future date, and from my perspective, it's one of those things where once it goes into private hands, it'll never come back out of private hands. So I have reservations for sure, and the city has said so, and the petitioner has noted that they would accept the recommendation. So I intend to not support this motion.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any findings that they would like to put on the record? I would like to put on the record that the standard that we're expected to meet is 2180.010C. It requires that once the other half of the street has been dedicated, that we have to make a determination. We have to require it to be dedicated unless we were to make a determination or finding that it is either unnecessary or undesirable. It seems like after 50 years of having a area dedicated for a road, that if it hasn't been built in 50 years, it might not be built, which would seem to satisfy the unnecessary aspect. However, when I drive the area, I noticed on rush hour times that it's particularly busy on that street, and getting on in and out of that lot is difficult, and having a side street developed would seem to be helpful. It would have been nice to have some additional testimony on the issue of actually what would the cost be of developing the road. And I'm a bit troubled by having a road that would be very expensive that no one's going to build, and having that wasted space. Are there any other thoughts on the board about it?
Yes, through the chair. It seems as if under 21.80.10 or excuse me 01C, there it appears that there's value to the municipality for this road or this right of way, and so I don't believe the conditions have been met. But the petitioner is willing to waive this requirement. So I'm going to deny and vote no on this.
Thank you. Kevin Cross.
Well, look at the intention of the Juneau Street access, and it was to, I would imagine, would be provide adequate access to the West Fork Subdivision Track 1A and the adjoining lot. And you got access off Dowling, you got access off Old Seward, which means the only people really being inhibited by the Juneau Street access would be the individuals who have direct access off Rosewood. So other than the fact that it's a 50-year-old road easement, I don't see where it inconveniences anybody to have it demolished. Thank you.
Any other findings? I think we'll call the vote.
I apologize. The action is not written correctly under the suggested action. It was motioned in the positive
Thank you.
that we approve.
The vacation from the requirement to vacate.
To not, it says not dedicate.
So we would remove the not and department recommendations.
So for you and paying attention, all motions must be in the positive. It's to clarify and make it easy for us to know if we're voting for or against something. If you ever voted in an election and it seems confusing that you're voting in the negative, all things must be in the positive.
You're wanting to. Yeah. Do you need to reset the voting in order to edit that, or can you just edit it? Okay. Take out the department recommendation. Move to approve the dedication of Juneau Street. please state your motion, Mr. Porter?
So I move to allow the variance from AMC 21.80.10 dedications of streets and right-of-way to Juneau Street.
Thank you. Dan Young seconds. And we have,
And as a reminder, it's still in the same vein of I do not support this motion.
thank you. So, I'm stuck on this page because it's still on the floor.
Reset vote.
Sure, we'll voice vote it. All in favor? Please state aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Okay, so everyone was opposed?
For clarification, we were opposed to approving a variance for Juneau Street. Appreciate your patience as we deal with technical difficulties.
We've never done
Thank
that
you.
one before.
All right, now we'll go to the second item. Don Porter, would you please state your motion?
I move that we approve the request for a vacation of the 25-foot access easement, a 20-foot by 20-foot, 155-foot portion of an electrical and telephone easement, a 95-foot by 20-foot portion of the electric and telephone easement, and a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement, subject to item 1, recording of a suitable plat within 18 months of its approval.
Thank you. Dan Young seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I intend to support this motion as we've had quite a bit of discussion and the right-of-way would be adequate for those other items that have been vacated. So I believe this to be in the best interest of the city.
Thank you. Is there any additional findings from the board? Kevin Cross.
I also choose to support this motion. I think the petitioner has made a very compelling case. They've done extensive research and work with the DOT in order to accommodate their requirements. Additionally, I think that the intended usage of the property is a vast improvement for the midtown Anchorage of Anchorage and will do a great service to the area. If you know the history of that property, it has been tumultuous, to say the least. It'll be widely appreciated to see it dramatically improved.
Thank you. Any additional findings? Is there anyone opposed to approving the motion? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. And the third item, Don Porter, please state your motion.
I move for the approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to the following conditions, 1 through 6, resolving utility easements, entering into a mainline extension agreement with AWW for wastewater service to the subject parcel, resolve the AWW field services, the need for a private system review, dedication of 30 feet of right-of-way for Juneau Street, obtaining permits from ADOT for access to Old Sword Highway and Dowling Road, and place the following notes on the plat. A property owner and utilities shall not raise, lower, or regrade the property in a manner that will alter the drainage patterns from those shown on the approved grading and drainage plan without prior approval from the Municipality of Anchorage Building Safety Officer. Item B, property owners and the utilities shall not obstruct, impede, alter approved drainage facilities, drain swales or ditches in any way that will adversely impact adjacent properties or rights of way.
Thank you. Dan Young seconds that motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. I intend to support this motion. As we've discussed before, this will finalize their ability to get this plat into the right queue, including the 30 feet of right-of-way. I personally would like to thank the petitioner for their patience with the process. I can have an idea that it was a bit frustrating and maybe a little tumultuous. And as Kevin has noted, I agree that it would be an improvement to see that property improved. While we are loath to see right-of-way vacated, and so that is our primary issue here, and so it does seem maybe a little bit, makes you wonder if it hasn't been built, but with all the other surrounding areas, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and once it goes away, it'll never come back. So,
Thank you. Any additional findings? Is there anyone opposed to approving the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. We will now take up case S12224. John Wells, 1952 addition subdivision. Do we have a petitioner, or I guess we need to have staff's report first?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see here. So this is a request for a subdivision of 11 lots into 6 lots with vacation of a portion of Dakota Street and East 87th Avenue, and a variance from the AMC 21.80.010. The petitioner wishes to subdivide and vacate right-of-way in anticipation of future development on the proposed lots. The petitioner included property owners within the block to vacate the sections of road without creating dead-end rights-of-way. The petition site contains 2.95 acres and is located south of 86th Avenue and north of East 88th Avenue between Arlon and Cameron. The zoning is I-1 light industrial, and the proposed lots meet the minimum lot size and width required by the respective zoning district and any other dimensional standards required by code. The proposed plat does not create split zoning. With the vacation request, they're looking to vacate East 87th and Dakota Street located within the proposed subdivision. The vacation requests have been reviewed. They found to conform to the municipal vacation policy. The rights-of-way will not adversely affect access to lots within the proposed subdivision. All the parcels that abut the proposed right-of-way for vacation, they all have principal access and are serviced by the surrounding roadways. That way, no way property is denied access by the vacation. The existing right-of-way is only 24 feet. That's less than half of the 60 feet that would be required for a road. Traffic has stated they have no objection to the right-of-way request. The traffic engineering department did request an 18-foot development setback on the north side of proposed lots 21 and 23A along 86th Avenue. This will prevent encroachments into the future right-of-way needs of 86th Avenue and East 86th Avenue, and allow for future construction. Those two lots currently don't have any buildings on them. The variance request for dedication of streets allows the petitioner to not dedicate any additional right-of-way. The department has found standards 1, 2, 3, and 4 are met. The subdivision was created in 1953 with only a 24-foot dedication. The majority of the lots within the subdivision are developed, and obtaining the 60-foot dedication would be unlikely. The interior road sections would all need to be vacated with the proposed lots having the legal and physical access, which is in accordance to AMC 21.80.200. There's no dead-end streets, and if this variance were not granted, the property owner would need to dedicate right-of-way, which would impact their ability to provide parking for existing buildings, businesses, and also create encroachments of existing structures. So with that being said, the department recommends approval of the request for the variance to not dedicate from AMC 218010 to allow the petitioner to not have to dedicate any of that right-of-way on Cameron and East 86, subject to the one condition of recording the plat. The department recommends approval of the request to vacate that portion of 87th Avenue and Dakota Street within the subdivision boundary, subject to condition 1, recording a suitable plat, and also approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to the conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 found on page 9 and 10 of your staff packet. The petitioner, they've met with us a couple times and discussed how they could vacate the right-of-way within their subdivision property that they owned. After meeting with Mr. Traffic Engineer and us, they actually went up. They had to pull in a few other extra property owners, and they made it all happen. And it worked out that they were able to vacate that whole entire practically block section. So we support that. Thank you.
I have a question. We just denied a vacation of a road to the last guy. So what's the difference between that one and this one?
Well, so for this one is where the vacation is only 24 feet along the Cameron Street there, and you know, as stated, there's no way that we would be able to get existing 60-foot dedication because of all the existing construction that occurs along there. The previous plat had no buildings, no encroachments within that 30-foot right-of-way. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thanks.
Thank you. And any other questions for staff? Don Porter.
Yes, through the chair. So all of these lots have sufficient access off of 88th Avenue, for instance, for proposed lot 8A and 10A, and so in the development that's going to go on those is going to be sufficient for a single access?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct. They have access there to all the lots that are going to be re-subdivided have access to either 86 Cameron, Arlon, or 88th Avenue, and traffic has supported that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Do we have petitioner's representative present?
Yes, Mark Phillips.
Mark Phillips.
Yeah, PHILLIPS.
Thank you. Do you want to reserve any time now?
Sure. I mean, I don't have much to say. We have worked with them and agreed with what the work's gone on here will make a usable piece of property out of what wasn't very usable before.
Thank you. Is that your full statement?
Yes.
Any questions for him? You have 9 minutes and 23 seconds for rebuttal.
Okay.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak at this matter? Seeing and hearing from no one, you now have an opportunity to use your rebuttal time if you wish. Thank you. Kevin Cross, do you have questions?
I have a question for the petitioner. I appreciate that. Thank you. So what is the current use of the property? Because I drove by it. I tried to make a habit of driving by these properties.
Right.
It looks like it's got a considerable amount of storage on it. So what
Right.
is the what is
Yeah, we're in the midst of cleaning that
okay.
up. It's basically been a storage yard, and pretty much well, there's 3 different properties here we're talking about. Basically, there's a body shop on one corner. That's one of the petitioners, and then there's a feed store that's on Cameron there.
Yep.
And then the rest of it has been a equipment yard, basically.
Gotcha. Now, I drove down Cameron. It's a tight fit. I mean, there's buildings on either side of it. So
Correct.
They're built right up to the road, what it appears to be, because it's a narrow. Is it your intention to remove any? It looks like.
Well, that's not our property. I mean, that's I'm with Coastline, which has the interior part of it, and we're the ones that sort of instigated it.
So what is the plan for the property we're trying to subdivide? I'm trying to get an idea of what the intended usage is and what kind of impacts our decisions might make on future development.
Sure. It'll be a warehouse type situation, or public storage, or it could be on 88th. We could have an office building there too.
Okay, yeah, because of the zoning implications.
Yeah.
So, excellent.
And under the way it was configured with those small lots and all broken up, Title 21 was real hard to meet on anything. So.
Yeah, understood. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The matter now rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the request for variance? Don Porter, would you please state your motion?
Excuse me, sorry. Yes, in the case of S1224, the John Wells 1952 edition subdivision, I move that we accept item A, approval of the request for a variance from AMC 2180.10 to allow the petitioner to not dedicate any additional right-of-way for Cameron Street and 86th Street, subject to the recording, item 1, recording of a suitable plat within 18 months of a preliminary approval.
Thank you. And Christina Enix seconds the motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I intend to support this motion, and there are significant items, and one of those items is that the smaller right-of-way vacations of 24 feet are really not that useful to the municipality for maintaining and otherwise. And also the petitioner is moving to larger lots with larger developments with internal circulation. So the smaller right-of-ways would impede in development of those large lots.
Thank you. Kevin Cross.
I also move to support the variance from AMC 2180.0110 and dedication streets to allow the petitioner not to dedicate any additional right-of-way to Cameron Street and East 86th Avenue, primarily because both 86th and 88th provide adequate access to those areas, and Cameron Street, the buildings to the west are built right up to it. I don't see that there's additional. I think there's adequate access provided by alternate means, and that the property will be improved by the petitioner's plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any opposition to the motion? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. We have a motion to approve the request to vacate East 87th. Kevin Cross. Don Porter, sorry. Don Porter, please state your motion.
I move to approve the request to vacate that portion of East 87th Avenue and Dakota Street within the subdivision boundary, with the note to record a suitable plat within 18 months of preliminary approval.
Thank you. And would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, as we've discussed before, and Kevin has talked about it as well, there's adequate access, and these vacations are too small to be of use to the municipality, and will support larger lot development that's being proposed.
Thank you. Any other findings? Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing no opposition, that motion passes. I have a motion to approve the plat for 18 months, subject to conditions. Don Porter, please state your motion.
Yes, I move to approve the plat for 18 months, subject to the following conditions: 1, 2, 3, 4, 4A, 4B, and 5. And those all regard utility easements, dedication of 18-foot development setbacks, non-conforming rights, and adding specific notes about grading. And 5 is drafting changes.
Thank you. Are there any additional findings? Is there any opposition to the motion? The motion passes, seeing no opposition. And it looks like we'll now call case S12251. It looks like we're having it postponed until April 20th, 2016.
That is correct.
So may I have a motion? Dan Young moves. Would you please state your motion, Dan?
Yes, I move to postpone this case until, I'm not certain of the date, I lost my paper.
April 20th, 2016.
April 20th, 2016. Thank you.
And Kevin Cross seconds. Any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, motion passes. Are there any persons to be heard tonight? Seeing none, I guess we're now standing in adjournment.